Welcome to the Rachel Varga podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Varga, double board certified aesthetic nurse specialist since 2011 with over 20,000 rejuvenation procedures performed. I'm an international clinical trainer for other physicians and nurses as well, celebrity skin expert, having been featured on some of the world's top proactive aging podcasts, and much, much more. Learn more at rachelvarga.ca and enjoy today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode on the Rachel Varga podcast. I'm excited to have you here today. And if you're new here, I usually do these solo episodes on an audio-only version on the Rachel Varga podcast on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. But today, I am going to do a live solo video session talking about intuitive healing and slowing aging, why they are connected, and why the two are so important and not interdependent on one another, why they're not separate, why they're actually important to consider together. So let me preface this by saying you know what's best for you. A parent knows what's best for their kids, right? You have an innate wisdom and ability to tap in, tune in, tune on, turn on with what is in the highest good for you if you care to take the time to quieten your mind and listen. What I talk about here on the show are various body, mind, spirit, energy practices to bring forth a higher level of radiance and beauty so that when you walk into the room, everybody notices. And people are like, what's going on with this beautiful, delightful, radiant, high vibe human? And that's what I teach people. And I'd love to teach you that too. So you're going to be learning a snippet on how to become that type of person that is a little bit more captivating, a little bit more engaging, but just oozing with this delicious, delightful energy that is what I call radiance and is what I am here to teach you about today. So let's first talk about this concept of intuitive healing. And I'd like to preface this by also sharing a story. Now, recently I was in Sedona and I was living my best life in the vortexes, camping out in nature. Didn't really feel like I had huge caloric needs and I just wasn't that hungry. So what I actually ended up doing was totally unintentional. I did not have this intention whatsoever, but my intention for going to this place was to be encouraged, was to have my cup filled up, but I just had no idea that it would come from complete depletion of sleep, food, alcohol, dairy, sex, all sorts of things. Just really being in my own energy and fasting. So our body does have this innate ability to want to help you live better and be healthy. Now, what we do as humans is our human kind of gets in the way sometimes. And we sometimes can make choices that might not actually be good for us. We might eat food that isn't great for us, but it's presented in front of us. We don't want to offend anybody, but really eating those collard greens, eating those rancid oils, having that extra sugar, having that extra gluten might actually just make you not feel great the following day, following days, and even the following week or weeks. And the funny thing is when we just kind of lean into what could feel good for us, what could nourish us, or also when to pull back and think to ourselves, well, maybe, just maybe, I could heal and slow aging from depletion. Now, this is a concept I had never thought of, but being in the moment, being in nature, feeling like I just wasn't that hungry, I started to do this really long fast. Well, not complete fast, not a complete water fast, because that's not very safe when you're in nature. In the desert and elevation, you got to worry about electrolytes and hydration and all of that. But this just did something to me. This type of longer fast, which is very challenging. If you're a mom, if you're a parent, you're a working professional, you're in the home, I think, a little bit more challenging because you always have food around you. But when you're in nature and you're camping, it's, I think, easy to get distracted by the beauty around you. So that was my mindset. I was just taking in the beauty around me. and tuning in to myself that I really wasn't that hungry and I really didn't need to eat very much, but I still kept up with my water. I am absolutely obsessed with high quality water. So carbonated, mineralized water really does the trick for me for my hydration needs. So what I've learned in discussions with expert intermittent fasters like Ben Azadi, like Reed Davis, who are hugely widely known in the FDN, functional diagnostic practitioner space, is that a long fast is actually a wonderful way to unlock your body's innate ability to want to heal itself. By simply depleting your body, you can access the degradation of senolytic cells. So senescent cells, senolytics are what get rid of the senescent cells. So senescent cells are essentially the zombie cells in your body. And a lot of those zombie cells are tied to toxins and things that actually get stored in your fat cells. And I actually understand fat very well because as a double board certified aesthetic nurse specialist, there is a rejuvenation procedure on the market that actually kills fat cells. It's a concept called apoptosis of your adipocytes, your fat cells, and it uses cold. It uses cryolipolysis. It's just cryotechnology. It literally like freezes your fat cells. Now, what happens is those cells from the cold are told to die. And then what happens also when you're going through that after the specific procedure is you do have toxins being released in your system. So then you can kind of feel like a little bit tired and all of that because your body is literally dealing with a little bit more of like a toxic burden. I talk about this all the time on the show here, this toxic bucket analogy. If this toxic bucket gets it's full up, it's going to tip over and then you'll start to see things like brain fog, skin issues, maybe sometimes your eczema or psoriasis coming back. But I mean, the end of the day, if your toxic bucket's full, you're going to age faster and you're not going to be in your most pure state. So when that toxic bucket gets emptied, which I recently learned can be achieved through a longer fast, through complete depletion, putting yourself through sometimes a bit of a stressful situation can show you certain things. And like I said, I had not planned on doing a long fast. It just kind of came to me and I just kind of leaned into it. So this is when we can get really in tune with ourselves to actually tap into our body's innate ability, our body's innate wisdom. It's pretty smart. You know, we've had bodies for a long time and they know how to heal themselves if we just simply give it the opportunity to do so and we limit our toxic exposure. That's what biohacking does. It's the art and science of hacking your biology hacking your environment to support your biology. So that's why I talk about purifying your air, water, lighting, reducing your EMF exposure, and doing regular detoxification, purification, monthly, quarterly, just to get rid of excess yeast, fungi, toxins, and parasites. So leading into this trip, I had done a lot of work behind the scenes. And if you've been following the Rachel Varga podcast, especially in the audio only version on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, on every podcast platform, I've been sharing with you that I have been doing a lot of detoxing for the last probably 5 months. So my body was like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to get this additional layer of healing, which was from a long fast. Now, I've done intermittent fasting for quite a while. And sure, I've maybe seen some benefits, but nowhere near the benefits I've had from a long fast. And if I hadn't have done all this preparatory work with detoxing, I probably would have had a lot of toxic die-off symptoms from organisms at this point. So if you are considering spending some time in nature for a long period of time, combine it possibly with a bit of a longer fast where you're really depleting yourself of all dairy, really limited meat. I just had like a tiny bit of carbohydrate and gluten, but if I needed to eat something, I would eat something. And if I needed to drink, obviously I drank a lot of carbonated mineral water and even hydrogen water. So more on that If you want to actually learn more about some of my favorite things, including hydrogen water, including some of the other supplements like Organifi products, you can actually find those on my favorites page. So that's like my pre-vetted list of all of my favorite things to support you. They're things that I use that I wouldn't share anything with you that I didn't use myself or stood by. I'm just that kind of person. So when we have the opportunity to tap into our body's own innate ability to want to heal itself and follow those cues, follow those signs, follow those doors that open that are leading you to all signs point to go to do it. Get out of your own way. Just do it. Embrace it. If it feels right for you, go for it. Of course, this isn't medical advice, educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. So getting back to these senescent cells. Senescent cells are everywhere. And the way that senescent cells play out in the skin, like zombie cells, is with hyperpigmentation. So red acne scarring that doesn't go away, with sun damage and brown spots and sunspots and age spots that don't go away. Those are essentially senescent cells. So when you take things like antioxidants, when you are living a low in inflammation lifestyle, your body will be better able to get rid of those senescent cells. And you can even take some senolytics. So senolytics are like scavengers, and they look for these senescent cells and get rid of them. A long fast is like a free way to do it instead of taking supplements. However, when you are doing fasting, what I love to suggest, and something that I do, is using Organifi products. And Organifi is the sponsor of today's show. Perfect fit because I do this anyway, so I'm just basically sharing with you things that I do. So when you are using good supplements like antioxidants, omegas, nutrients, adaptogens, vitamins, it can give you that little extra energy you need when you're intermittent fasting through the day. Instead of having coffee, you could go for something like Organifi. I really like the gold. I also really like to start off with kind of all the colors. And when I'm making my Organifi drinks, we have the green juice in green, clearly, and then the gold in gold, and then the red juice in red. I love to start my day with chakra colors and just like, okay, I'm going to support these colors in my body. And because chakras have different colors. And also, there's a lot of benefits in having a variety of colors on your plate. And I love the ability to get that variety in a really easy way in the morning. And I love to also start my day with warm liquids, not like piping hot, but like warm liquids. From a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, my TCM practitioner told me was to start with warmth in the morning is really good. So I can't just drink water in the morning. I really find I have to have something with it. Otherwise, I get a little bit nauseous. And I'm curious, for those of you tuning in live here, if you intermittent fast, or if you've tried the Organifi products, or if you've ever done a long fast. So I'd love for you to join in the comment section. I'm happy to answer some questions live here. But Organifi does make awesome products. The sponsor of today's show, use promo code Varga and save at at Organifi.com/Varga. You can also find Organifi on my favorites page, and that promo code Varga will save you 20%. These are delicious. They're the most tasty supplements I've ever had. And on my next adventure trip, what I'm going to be doing, instead of taking the canisters, I'm going to be taking their travel packs. So they have these like Prius little travel packs, which is great. And they contain things like cordyceps, rhodolia, ginseng, reishi mushroom, red beet, pomegranate, acai, raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, cranberry, lemon. They also contain ashwagandha, matcha, moringa, chlorella, spirulina, turmeric, red beet, wheatgrass, lemon, coconut water, turmeric, ginger, lemon balm, reishi mushroom, turkey tail mushroom, nutmeg, allspice, clove, coconut milk, cinnamon, black pepper, lots of great things. And they're all organic, glyphosate free. So and a really good company too. So as you know on the show, I'm super picky. The products that I work with and recommend, I'm going to use them. I'm not going to recommend something that I'm not going to use myself. And you all know how much I care about purity of products. I love that this is glyphosate free. So we have Rebecca here. Hello, Rebecca. Haven't done a long fast, but looking to do a detox to improve skin health. Okay, this is a great question. I would actually love to answer this and expand on this topic, Rebecca, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep the live questions coming. I'm showing up here for you guys. You get access to my energy when I'm live here on the YouTube channel. And also when I do my skin camp programs, I go live through that. And also with an upcoming exciting offering as well to teach you more about the depth of beauty and radiance. And to register, to pre-register, go to rachelvarga.ca/live so that you get updates on when this very exciting thing that I'm working on behind the scenes to teach you radiance on a deeper, beautiful level is coming together quite magically. Okay, so you haven't done a long fast, but looking to do a detox to improve skin health. First of all, Rebecca, I want you to make sure that you are following a healthy diet for you. Before doing a detox, just set the stage. Make sure you're kind of whispering to the body. And I talk about this with skin. We want to whisper to the skin to stabilize the skin. Then maybe we want to start to talk to the skin with different skin antioxidants and retinol and things like that. And then to have the conversation with the skin with dermarolling at-home peels. So when we take this kind of approach, start low, go slow, whisper, talk, and then converse, what happens with that is with the skin, you avoid and reduce the opportunities for skin reactions, reactivity, redness, irritation, dryness, because we're just kind of slowly waking the skin up and doing more to it. And if you'd like access to my 5 steps to sophisticated skin, you can also find that at rachelvarga.ca/slow aging. And all of these links are actually in the description of this episode, but everything's also at rachelvarga.ca. So when it comes to detoxing, what worked for me was to actually start with the Viome test. So the Viome test is a gut test. It's a blood test that you do at home. It's super easy. You just prick your finger and go to the bathroom. And now they have a swab, which is looking at your oral health. And I just sent mine off. I actually did the test. This is my 3rd time doing a Viome test after this long fast. And I've done just a boatload of parasite testing and detoxing as well. So what I recommend is starting, Rebecca, to eat foods that are hyper-focused and specific to your needs, because you could be eating kale, but kale could be inflammatory for you. You could be eating bell peppers, but bell peppers could be inflammatory for you. You could be eating chicken, but chicken could be inflammatory for you. There's all of these foods that are considered healthy, but might not actually be healthy for you and your specific DNA and your constitution. So I would start with that. I would first set the stage by eating foods that are ideal for you, so that when you're going through this detox, you're continuing to eat foods that are ideal for you. And then you add additional layers and different nutrients and supplements and things and herbs to clear things out while you're still eating foods that are good for you. Because if you go into a detox and you're eating foods that are inflammatory for you, you won't get the most benefits out of it. And the thing about doing a detox to improve skin health, the best diet for your gut, the best diet for your heart, the best diet for your blood sugar levels, for putting on muscle, for brain health, funnily enough, will all siphon down and filter down into giving you better skin. But first start with reducing your inflammation by following foods and eating foods that are specific for you. So this is testing instead of guessing. That's why, Rebecca, I don't say on the show here, oh, follow this specific diet and eat these foods and here's these recipes, because how am I supposed to know what your body wants? So that's the approach that I like to take, is quite simply test instead of guess. So the Viome test you can find at rachelvarga.ca/favorites. There's affiliate links there to save you some money. It also helps me to support the free content here on the show. The Purium cleanse, I definitely can get behind the Purium cleanse. That one really kickstarted me to just like eliminating things that no longer served me, that were pulling on my nutrients, that were pulling on my life force, that were pulling on my energy. If things are pulling on you and not making you feel good, they need to go. And that's exactly what organisms and parasites are. So eat the right foods. Start with maybe the Purium cleanse. And why I love Organifi is you can have these during fasting. You can have these during detoxing, and it'll just kind of mix up your taste buds. If you've ever done a diet, you eat so much of the same thing, you get what's called palate fatigue. And you can get really tired of eating the same thing all the time. You're like, I just really want something sweet. So that's what's cool about the Organifi products, is that it will give you like a little bit of a perk of energy when you're avoiding coffee, ideally on a detox. This also will give you energy. And they're warm products, like a lot, like I'd have the Gold and the Green Juice and Original warm, as well as the Harmony. And I just find it's nice for my vocal cords. It's just kind of like, it's really soothing in the morning as opposed to like cold water. And then midday or in the evening, it can feel like a bit of a treat. And that's Organifi, that you can get at Organifi.com/Varga and use promo code Varga for 20% off. All right. So what do you recommend for a detox protocol, one that supports gut detox repair? Again, the Purium one on my favorites page, it's Organifi's got position 1, Purium's got position 2. I recommend getting actually both of them. They're great because they'll be supportive of one another, and they worked really well in harmony with my recent detox journey, which allowed me to go into this longer fast and not have insane detox symptoms. I will say though, for the first day or two, I had a lot of pain because I'm dealing with whiplash and headaches. And I would say pretty much suffering, not feeling great, to the effect that I had to miss out on some things at this event. I had to stand in the back of the room because I didn't want to sit because I was in pain. And this can happen when you first start detoxing, is just things happen. You're starting to have things die off. Things that are no longer serving you are basically creating different things in the body that will elicit a little bit of pain and discomfort. But then once you push through that, then you get the impacts. So what would you recommend for a detox protocol, one that supports gut detox repair? And the thing is, it's not going to be just a protocol. It's going to be how you live your life. So that's why focusing first on the Viome food recommendations. So you buy this kit, it's like a couple $100, it's amazing. Send it off, and then on your phone, on the app, it gives you a readout of your superfoods, your okay foods, and your avoid foods. And so that can help you understand, okay, 80-20 rule, 80% of the time, I'm going to eat my awesome foods. And then if I'm going to have a treat, okay, it's going to be very infrequent. And that could be your avoid foods. But if you have like your avoid foods and sugar and gluten and alcohol for an extended period of time, it will show up in your skin a few days later, a few weeks later, and kind of like hang out. And it's really frustrating. And then you'll look at your skin and be like, had a binge this week of alcohol and treats, say you're at a family event or holidays or whatever. You will notice the negative impacts on your skin. And when it comes to the gut and repair, it's sort of ongoing. Your body is constantly remaking itself, renewing itself. And so that's why you really want to be diligent, Rebecca. You want to look at getting the best hair, skin, nails of your life and slowing aging as a complete lifestyle. A complete lifestyle. I am the most low maintenance, high maintenance person out there. I am low maintenance in the effect that I really like to live a simple, peaceful life with no drama, little to no drama. I mean, drama is sometimes inevitable. But then I also am really particular about how I live: air, water, lighting, electromagnetics, and detoxing. And with that is food. So really, I don't eat out a lot at restaurants because a lot of restaurant food contains rancid oils and ingredients that just are not ideal for my constitution. So what do I recommend for a healthy diet? I already answered this question. Rebecca, thanks so much for asking these questions. These are amazing. She says, thank you, very helpful. Well, you are very welcome. And what do I recommend for healthy diet? I can't recommend a diet for you simply because you got to test this. So get that Viome test kit. It's at rachelvarga.ca/favorites. There's a promo code to save you some money. I would go for their most recent test kit. I think it's like Full Body Health, and it's blood, stool, and now saliva, looking at the oral health. Why the oral health is so important is because our mouth is right next to our brain. So if you have oral health problems, you're probably having brain issues as well. And it's really interesting when I teach people and I hop on a one-on-one call, there can be signs of brain fog that I'll pick up on. Sometimes if people are toxic, they haven't yet learned how to eat well for their constitution. They maybe haven't done this testing yet. They're not a biohacker yet. I notice the difference in brain function in these individuals compared to those who have been biohacking for quite some time or have listened to the show for the last few years, taken a skin camp, right? Fall skin camp's happening now. I do seasonal skin camps where that's where I do all my skincare and dermal rolling tutorials and all of that. Tutorial-based lessons are at skin camp, and I do them every season, start and end of the equinox, to respect and respond to the seasonal shifts and rhythms that I would love to encourage you to start to live that way too. Because there's different things in the skin and for the body and for rejuvenation that we can do every season. All right, this is a great question, Rebecca. Do you think it's important to see a functional medicine doctor, or can most of this be done on our own? This is a really great question. So before making any lifestyle modifications, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. This is educational information only. In my experience, because I work with, and my colleagues are very high level practitioners. And a lot of times they have that allopathic Western medicine training, and then they also have the functional training. Or they don't have the allopathic training, and then they have other trainings. So I find some of the best healers are very open-minded. They're not just contained in a box to practice in, but they're a little bit more open-minded. And they combine the best of not just both worlds, the functional and allopathic and Western, but the best of many worlds, including ancient wisdom, including ancestral wisdom, ancestral way of living, and being open to that. So it's almost like, to find a practitioner, you might want to interview them and see if they're a good fit. That could be some insights. But when it comes to the Viome food test, no, you don't need a practitioner to do this test. It's $200. And if you think about going to a practitioner for food sensitivity testing, your initial visit's going to be $200. You're going to pay for the labs, which is going to be $200. And then you're going to be paying for a follow-up to interpret the labs, which is going to be $200. And then sure enough, you're at probably over $1,000. So what this is doing is making being healthy a little bit more accessible. Naveen Jain, this is his company. He's been on the show many times. I think 3 times I've interviewed him. And that's really his mission with Viome, is to make illness optional. And I do believe him. And I love the fact that what he's doing with this company is giving the onus to us. Okay, here's which foods are helpful for you. Here's what your scores are now. Here's what you can do. And then you retest and then see if what you're doing and how you're living and what you're eating is turning the needle. And why I like these kinds of tests that you can't get through your practitioner. This is available online. I like this because you can also look at your biological versus chronological age. So for me, my biological age is younger than my chronological age. And what that tells me, when my biological age is much younger than my chronological age, is that what I'm doing is working. Now, some of my clients, they've booked sessions with me and they're like, oh, Rachel, my biological age is older than my chronological age. Help. And when you have those metrics, you can understand that maybe some of the things that are going on with your biology and your environment need to shift so that you can get that. Not like balance would be like your biological matching your chronological. But what I would love to challenge you to do is to try and knock down that biological age. You'll look younger, you'll have more energy, you'll compare yourself. Well, don't compare yourself, but just hear me out. When you start to meet people that are the same age as you and you're like, whoa, you look 10 years younger, maybe you need to listen to the show. Maybe you need to start some biohacking. Or you meet people and they tell them their age, and you're like, whoa, you look like 10 years younger. I love actually seeing this in clients of mine that are 60 to 80, and they present on camera, and sure, they have signs of aging. That's why they're meeting with me, so that they can get some insights from me, what they can do with their skin, dermal rolling, at-home peels, rejuvenation plan at home and clinic. That's what I do. But they have energy. They have this crazy energy because they've already done the body, mind, spirit energy. These are older, more mature individuals, and they've learned the lessons. They've learned that, okay, if they binge on alcohol, if they binge on sugar, if they binge on gluten, and eat the right foods that make them sick, they're not going to feel well, and they're going to have brain fog, and they're not going to be able to show up for themselves in their personal lives and also in their professional lives. And by the way, Rebecca, I absolutely love that you sent me multiple questions at 12:22. Story of my life. Rebecca says, very interesting. Where can we take the test for biological age? That is at rachelvarga.ca/favorites. My favorites link is in the description of this episode. And that's where you will find the Organifi superfood juice blend. So instead of juicing, it's really easy on the go. That's where you can find the Purium Detox. And that's also where you can find the Viome test kit. Just scroll down, you'll see the word Viome, Viome. And that's just get their most recent one. I think it's the Full Body Health is what it's called. Full Body Intelligence. Yeah, the gut one is just the gut. And then they have 2 others. So their latest one is the one that I could suggest. So use that affiliate link on the favorites page. Use the promo code, I believe, Varga, to save some money on it. Love saving you money. Doesn't make it more expensive for you. It's just these companies are extending savings to you, which is awesome. And Rebecca says, thank you. Super good info. Yeah, my pleasure. Where are some of you from who are tuning in? I am curious where you all are from. So if there's any other questions, let me know. So we are discussing intuitive healing, which fasting, listening to your body, noticing when you eat something, if it's making you feel a little dull, drained, if you have brain fog, or if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to kick butt, take names, and crush life. Notice these things. Become more intuitive with your body, mind, spirit, energy, and whether or not you need to detox. And if you're not detoxing yet, if you've never done a detox, you need to detox. 1 in 2 people in North America have parasites, as per the teachings of, if I'm going to reference parasitetesting.com's work, that parasitologist has over 40 years in the space of parasitology. So I love the OG original gangster healers and learning from them. So when you start to tune into yourself, you will innately start to slow aging. And that's what I'm always interested in, is not only can we feel great and perform well on an athletic, a personal, professional level, but at the same time, when you do that work, you're going to also slow aging. And I think that's the dream. If you can figure out a way to live your best life, body, mind, spirit, energy, set your life up in a way that allows you to have the most freedom possible, that allows you to work and live and be in your most courageous, high vibrating state. I mean, that's what does it for me, is being able to feel free, being able to express myself, feeling safe, and all of that. Of course, being in nature. But the funny thing is, when things are good for you, it's going to start to slow your aging as well. And yes, of course, you're still going to want to use good skincare products. You can't out lifestyle and biohack a bad skincare routine. It's kind of like you can't out lifestyle and biohack a bad diet, eating foods that are wrong for you or using products that are wrong for you. So that's where working with me one-on-one comes in handy. Use promo code podcast15 for 15% off of your one-on-one with me at rachelvarga.ca. Because your skincare, your nutrition should be customized to your specific skin needs, values, budget, ethics, goals. And that's what I do. And I end up being my client's secret best friend in their back pocket. Whenever they have a question, they can reach out over email, and I'm here to support them. So intuitive healing, slowing aging are intricately connected with each other. When you follow your heart, when you support your body, mind, spirit, and energy, you will inevitably achieve and receive better hair, skin, and nails. One of the things also, Rebecca, that I really noticed after my last detox with using Purium, with using Organifi, with following really good food recommendations based on testing instead of guessing, was all my hair came back. I couldn't believe it. The last 2 years being in Canada, it's been pretty turbulent. We've had crazy weather here too, not only with what happened over the last couple of years, but also with extreme fires, with extreme drought, with extreme temperature domes, heat domes. People died. It was so hot. And then also these atmospheric rivers with crazy flooding. I've been through it. been through it the last couple of years up here, and yeah, it's taken its toll. And the way it took its toll was it contributed to some hair loss along my edges. But I'm happy to report, and I'm sure you can see it, that all of this is coming back in strong. And my nails have never been so strong and have grown so fast. And my skin has never been so clear from breakouts and acne. And I can be outside for longer in the sun and not burn as quickly. So these are all very interesting things to notice when you are living a more low inflammation, high vibrating lifestyle, is that you can also then, if you have a stressful situation come up, you won't be stuck in that high beta state, which is not conducive to slowing aging. You will better be able to weather the storm. And this is a really important skill to learn. And it's really important to learn how to tap into your inner power, balancing the masculine and the feminine, the yin, the yang, staying balanced, staying grounded, centered, balanced, and aligned. And those practices, body, mind, spirit, energy, detoxing practices, will look different for everybody. And that's okay. And you don't have to explain yourself to everybody, Bill, Bob, and your uncle, what you're doing. You just do it. If something feels good for you, do it. You don't really need to explain yourself. And when you live that way, you will inevitably be able to raise your vibration. You will inevitably learn to soar and slow aging and get the best hair, skin, and nails of your life. How do we learn to tune in intuitively? I struggle with this. There have been times where it was actually difficult for me with just different things in the world, evolutionary processes, evolutionary energies on the planet. We've been in this crazy state of turbulence. There have been interferences on multiple levels. So this is a very deep question. How do we learn to tune in intuitively? I would first start, Rebecca, if this is new to you, the intuitive world. There are a lot of intuitive empaths that listen to the show here, and a lot of people kind of on a very similar frequency on many levels to myself, but there's always new people coming in. That's cool. How to learn to tune in intuitively. First of all, I truly believe you should be able to really be in your most purest state to tune in. So if, say, for example, we think about priests and priestesses, what did they do back in the day? Can anybody guess what priests and priestesses would do back in the day? We're talking like the days of Avalon. One of my favorite books is The Myths of Avalon. It's like the women behind King Arthur, the ladies that were, gifting the swords and all these things, all this stuff. Like, this is like ancient information. Biblically, what have people done to tune in? What have people done in almost every spiritual practice and religion to tune in? Any guesses? What did I just do? I did a long fast. The crazy thing is, when you deplete yourself, you can then have your cup overfilled to the point where it's going to be completely overfilled and overfilling constantly. And that's why I am teaching this to people, is to, well, obviously meditate. Yeah, you got to quiet your mind. So let's start with the basics here. Purification of your air, water, lighting, electromagnetics, and detoxing will help so that you have less chemicals and toxins messing up your machinery to tap in, tune in, and turn on. Now, the next thing are your body, mind, spirit, and energy practices. So body, moving your body, doing yoga, doing qigong, tai chi, lifting weights, balancing your cardiovascular, your strength and conditioning, and your flexibility and mobility. Those are 3 key elements to caring for the body. And actually, this stuff, Rebecca, I talk about in my ebook, Unlocking Your Vitality, which you can also get at rachelvarga.ca. I really break this stuff down because I was just observing what my most high vibrating clients were doing. And then I wrote an ebook on it. Because I was like, I got to take notes out of these awesome humans playbook that are like decades older than I am. I got a lot to learn here. How can I also share this? So those are the 3 key elements of looking after your body. Now, looking after your mind, I find body, mind, Looking after your mind is, yes, going to be meditation. It's going to be quietening your mind. It could also be taking adaptogens, like what's in Organifi, like mushroom extracts, things like that. Adaptogens support your mind. They allow your body to mitigate stress. So meditative practices are going to look very different for absolutely everyone. For me, I like to do guided meditations. I've been part of a meditation community for over 10 years. I'm one of the youngest people in this specific community. I feel like I got a leg up by being introduced to a lot of really deep practices at a young age. So you just have to find which type of meditation practices feel good for you, whether that's going outside and doing a nature walk and just noticing the beauty around you, but getting your mind into a quiet state, quietening your mind. That's why I love nature so much. If you are an intuitive empath, or if you're dealing with toxins, if you're dealing with mold exposure, one of the first things you also need to learn to regulate to meditate is to regulate your autonomic nervous system. You need to learn how to regulate yourself so that you can stay still, so that you can quieten your mind for an extended period of time. Start with like 1 minute, start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you get up to like 2 hours of conking out, being in a deeply meditative, restorative state, because the mind wants quiet. The mind does not want ding, 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 right? From your phone. Like when I'm around people that are on their phone all the time, they're in what's called this high beta state. And I see this with a lot of my girlfriends, with a lot of people in my life. They got these smartwatches, they got their cell phone going off all the time. So I don't have kids yet, so I have the luxury of doing this, but my phone's always on airplane mode. My phone is always on do not disturb mode, and it's in a Faraday pouch. Now, I also do that so that I can podcast without intrusion. But I also, for my meditation, for my mind, I love to reduce my external stimuli to sounds, smell, touch. Sometimes just relaxing all of your senses can be really helpful. The other thing that I found helpful to achieve a more meditative state and learn to regulate my autonomic nervous system, after being in 2 car crashes, my brain got rocked. And I noticed that I was having difficulties regulating myself. So that's why I did cold therapy. I learned to go into the ocean. Here in Canada, it's very cold. Mountain waterfall runoff is very cold. And I would do 8 minutes up to my jawline because my neck was just killing me every single day. Terrible headaches. And then I would do 9 minutes, and it's really difficult. But when you actually start with cold therapy, it can drop you in to this state of feeling very safe, because there's nothing else that you can focus on while you're doing cold therapy. Start with a cold shower, and then do like an outdoor cold trough, and then, maybe ocean, cold river water, whatever. But when you learn how to regulate yourself, when you learn how to regulate and calm and quieten your mind, that is also an element to slowing aging, because the hormonal benefits. You won't be in that high beta state. You won't be in the cortisol dumping, and not to mention the adrenal fatigue state, which so many people are in these days. They're on their phone. They have all these notifications coming on. Ding, 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 ding. Like, hello. We've never lived like this. We've never lived like this before. I really don't think that humans, if we're to be our best version, can tolerate all of these constant notifications. Like, who cares? Who cares what's happening on the other side of the world every 5 minutes? Like, just calm down, center, balance, ground, and align. Quiet your mind. Just chill out. Just focus on what's in front of you. Focus on what's in front of you. Be calm. Be in a peaceful state. It's like having this like Zen-like quality. And then when things come up, you're in conversation, you're going to be a little bit maybe more in that observer perspective, which I find is better for learning. It's better for integration of information. And it's also a much better state to be in with interactions, positive interactions with people, places, and things. So we've talked about body. We've talked about the mind. Some of the other things for the mind would be like crafts and music. Like I play guitar. I've played guitar since I was 10. I was in a punk rock band. We'd be doing rehearsals at church on Friday night. I was the lead guitarist. I'd show up in like a dress and heels just to irritate the guys because they were all in like their skater clothes. It's really funny. We almost named the band Rig for Rachel is Glam. Yes, that is a fact. We had t-shirts made. It was called Complaint Department. It was really funny. It was like this like totally pure, adorable youth punk rock band. It was really cool. So music does it for me. I love playing piano. I love playing guitar. Some of the hobbies that I also have is getting out in nature 4x4ing as an outdoor enthusiast, hiking, pushing my body. These are all things that can stimulate your mind. Reading, these are all good things. Crafts, music, great ways to stimulate your mind. Now we're going to talk about body, mind, spirit. So the spirit aspect of the body, mind, spirit, energy quadfecta, as I like to call it, the spiritual component is very much individual. Now, this type of spiritual component, the spiritual component is individual for your lineage. It's also going to be individual for your personal evolutionary processes. And don't be surprised if your spiritual practices can adapt and evolve based on what you experience. But spirituality is a huge component to beauty, vibrancy, and radiance. And the reason I've come to truly know this is through observation. Again, being in that observer mindset can be very helpful for you to notice things, notice what people around you are doing. So these high vibrating clients that would meet with me that are age 60 to 90 and they show up and they have better skin than a lot of people I see in their 20s and 30s. They have these body, mind, spirit, energy practices across the board. They all had a spiritual practice. And this goes beyond just quieting your mind and meditating. They have some type of spiritual practice, connection to God source, Christ consciousness are a lot of key trends and themes that I saw in these high vibrating individuals. They all had a spiritual practice. Now, some people think that having a spiritual practice is a sign of weakness. Belonging to a religion is a sign of weakness. I'm of the mindset that there is power in numbers and that we are not alone and that we do have the ability to connect with the divine and get intuitive and tune into ourselves and tune into what could be good for us, following the doors, feeling divinely guided, protected. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm very much loved and protected. And if I didn't have that spiritual component, I probably would feel quite lost and not as protected and not as supported when I'm going through difficult things in life. So having a spiritual practice, do not downplay that. Do not underestimate that. Never make fun of people for having a spiritual practice, because a spiritual practice will be very much individual towards your lineage, how you've been raised, what feels good for you. There's all sorts of components that can interweave and mingle and come together to help you form your spiritual practice. And it's very unique. No need to explain yourself to others with what your practices are. It is actually very interesting and exciting to share sometimes what those practices are with others, because sometimes you can learn things. Oh, this person does this type of practice. I'm going to learn about this and see if it resonates. It's all about what feels good for you. So when you become more intuitive, when you become an intuitive empath, or maybe you're born an intuitive empath, I don't know. But when you start to really go within and learn what's in your highest good, that is, when you can start to cultivate spiritual practices, that is it. When in the Bible, I can't remember exactly where it was, but I remember I read this verse once, that Jesus's bones vibrated. So when I saw that, I was like, oh snap, this vibration is frequency. And so when we are in doing spiritual practices or meditation practices, something happens to you, and it's also the space between. So this is a perfect segue into body, mind, spirit, and energy. So energy, the molecules of you, the neurotransmitters of you, the electrons, the protons, the particles, the molecules, everything. The space between is actually what's called the fifth element. This is called quintessence. This was actually scientifically proven and discovered not too long ago, I think like a decade ago or so. And this was actually quintessence discovered, I believe, through LHC CERN. And what happens was In the physics world, I'm a huge nerd. When I took my general chemistry in university, my instructor, Jakob, he always said, it's a piece of the cake. It was so cute. But after he taught me, he actually got recruited to go work at CERN. And his whole family moved over and he worked there as a physicist. So at a really young age of like 20, 21, I started to follow what was happening in the particle physics world. And electromagnetics is my jam. I love electromagnetics, but I'm also super hypersensitive to them. It's really frustrating, but it's an energy thing, right? So like business on top with like this designer Misha dress with like, yes, my EMF pants down below. I often do this when I work business on top. Because when I live stream, I'm actually getting just like a boatload of EMFs. Like if I have my EMF reader here and held it up, it's like I might as well be sitting next to my router. So for me to show up and feel good, I do have to manage my energy. And so when we're thinking of the energy of us, electromagnetic interactions, and then that also plays into your blood. Now, our blood is something we really need to protect and keep healthy. And we know that when we're yapping on our phone for 5 minutes, your blood starts to change. When you're texting, when you're surfing Instagram for 5 minutes, your blood starts to change. And what's happening to your blood, instead of these nice red blood cells, we're going to use the Organifi canisters here. This is going to be cute. They kind of bump off one another. These red blood cells, they have balanced electromagnetic interactions. There's a little bit of attraction and repulsion, right? So they kind of bounce off one another and flow. The red blood cells bind to oxygen, they flow through your body, they bring oxygen and nutrients to your brain, your different organ systems, the skin, and they also detoxify. They carry away CO2 and metabolic waste products and detox. And then those detoxification components are then filtered through the liver and the kidneys. And then when you go to the washroom, you eliminate toxins. Now, when you're on your phone for 5 minutes, what happens is the red blood cells start to stick together. They start to also form clotting factors, and coagulation can then exist. So then what happens is your red blood cells will then start to form these chains. These Organifi canisters are freaking brilliant for this demonstration. So instead of your red blood cells floating around, having good repulsion and all that stuff, they start to stick together and form chains. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see what I mean. And if you're listening, you're hearing me banging things together. So when we have these chains of red blood cells forming, it's called rouleau. It's like this amazing bracelet from Crystal Current. Alexander Mazzone was just on the show. I bought this from him. Thank you. It's beautiful. It's got like selenite and all sorts of cool things. And I love, love, love wearing it. But when you're not grounded, your red blood cells will actually form a chain. And your red blood cells won't be moving as well to carry oxygen and nutrients and take away toxins if it's in a chain, and you're getting clotting factors and all sorts of things happening. So that's why energetically, it's really important to stay grounded. So barefoot outside is really important. Limiting your exposure to electromagnetics. If you can, just simply put your phone on airplane mode, turn off anything Bluetooth in your home. Smart vehicles, smart homes are making us sick, simply put. Now, you can go pretty extreme with protecting your energy with wearing like EMF clothing all the time. I sleep in EMF blankets. You can get some of my favorite EMF clothing and blankets on my favorites page as well. Lambs and No Choice are great options. Also, the Somavedic is great. It's like this green thing that you can structure your water with. I have that on in the home, and I've actually tested it that it bolsters the human biofield and actually increases energy output in the measurable form of joules in everyone in my home. I tested when I turned it on. Well, one person opted out of the study, but well, that's their loss. But everyone I tested across the board had a thicker human biofield, which is like this invisible thing of protection. It's human biofield. We can test it with this piece of tech. And then also you can measure your joule output and even chakra alignment. So this is like European tech that a lot of European healers use to get a sense of the health of somebody, which is really fascinating. So it's using Kirlian photography. It's assessing the photon emission from your fingertips and then extrapolating it onto this technology that allows you to visualize the human biofield. All sorts of cool things. Gives you like TCM metrics. It's crazy. It's really cool. And actually, Christopher, he's a biohacking friend of mine. He's the only person I've ever tested with this machine that had 100% joule output. 100% joule output. It makes sense because he's a biohacker and he really looks after himself and protects his energy and all sorts of stuff. And does all the things. And that's why we're friends. My friends are all weird like me, but I do also have some non-weird friends. But my weird friends are my favorite friends. Kind of go against the grain a little bit, and we just do what's right for us. We have the freedom to choose that. So protecting your energy is really important. Supporting your body to have the nutrients it needs so that you can have balanced neurotransmitters, so that you can have healthy and balanced metabolic processes. You're supporting your mitochondria, which is what gives your body energy. And the ATP is the energy currencies of the cell. So body, mind, spirit, energy practices are all really important free things for you to learn to cultivate. Don't be surprised if it takes you decades to cultivate it. Energy balancing practices will look like turning your phone on airplane mode. It will look like being barefoot outside. It will look like turning off Bluetooth. It will look like wearing EMF pants, tops, using like silver blankets. Like I literally sleep in silver threads. Forget silk. I go for silver. It's pretty cool. And I'm actually making something behind the scenes that will be a little bit more feminine because a lot of the EMF wear is a little too masculine, and I love being a lady. Well, this was a fun episode for me to record here, just kind of on the fly. I focused on intuitive healing, tapping in, body, mind, spirit, energy practices. If you want to dive in a little bit deeper as to what I've seen my most high vibrating clients doing, get a copy of my ebook. It's $14.44. You can get it at rachelvarga.ca. For my slowing aging tips, go to rachelvarga.ca/slowaging and download my 9 keys to slowing aging. There's some basic skincare tips in there. There's some biohacking tips in there to get you started, because this is the key to youth. You want to learn to fly. You want to be your lightest, most brightest, energized version. You want to pull a Jane Fonda without the facelifts. Join me. This is what I teach people, and this is a lot of fun to teach. Rebecca says, love all this cutting edge spiritual info. All right, I'm going to drop something here. The best stuff is the oldest stuff. It's all we know. What we can do now is quantify it. So we can say, oh, does the aura exist? Yeah, it does. Here's a picture of it. There's a bunch of different types of photography that can actually visualize the aura, or more specifically, the more technical term is the human biofield, which can be measured, which is so exciting. We can measure our joule output to see if our body is actually creating energy or if it's a little bit sluggish. And when it comes to also another cool thing with spiritual, cutting edge spiritual stuff is heart math. So for me, I was really kind of like, couldn't really go anywhere for like 2.5 years, locked in a box, all this stuff, like total state of like, what's going to happen? Like the highways are destroyed. I live on an island. We're on like 30-liter fuel rations for weeks. Yeah, it was insane. And so it was a constant state of flux. So I really had to cultivate things that supported me so that I could stay grounded and stay in my feminine. Because when we're stressed out, when we are stressed out, we're worrying about this, we're worrying about that, in that high beta state, you are not going to have very beautiful interactions. And you're going to be, for the ladies, a little too much in your masculine and not as much in your feminine. So even if the world's burning down, you still have to be in your feminine. Yes, you will be in survival mode a little bit. Of course, we'll make good choices. But being in the feminine is really a skill to get to. And so this is what I had to essentially master. Well, not master is the wrong word because I'm always learning. But what's really cool is now when I go to events, people don't just say to me, oh, Rachel, you have nice skin, makeup. What do you use? What products do you use? Great hair. Did you do it yourself? Oh, I love your outfit. What designer is it? Where'd you get it? I just like, you look great. Like, I want your skin tips. Okay, yeah. I've had that for a long time. But now it's, I enter a room and people are telling me, Rachel, I just had to come up and talk to you. There's something about your energy that was drawing me to you. And that is what I teach people. So there's something really big brewing behind the scenes. Don't miss out. Make sure you're on my newsletter because I'm going to be launching that and doing early bird savings and registration very soon. But this is to teach radiance. I've finally had this external validation now that I'm ready to teach this, because a lot of times when you're a teacher, you get this imposter syndrome. It happens to the best of us. And so these recent events that I went to, I've just had that validation that I'm ready to teach this. I got this. I can teach this. So yes, what I'm filming and the program is actually in Sedona. And the energy of the program is actually in the vortexes in Sedona and certain places in Utah. So very exciting for you to join me on this, because this is like this next piece. So podcast, free stuff, ebook, skincare products, one-on-one sessions with me, skin camps for tutorials, and then this next little huge, it's not just the icing on the top, it's the candle, it's the tiered cake, it's all this stuff. It's like that last missing piece that I've been trying to figure out. How the heck do I teach radiance? How do I get this concept across of being a high vibe, energized, light-based, emitting a ton of light individual that will allow you to excel in your personal and your professional life, mixed with cotillion for adults. Because when you are exuding this beautiful feminine energy, life is more beautiful. Life is easier for more beautiful people. That is a saying, but it's also an energy to get you there. It's not just looking hot and getting free stuff. It's like you're doing business, you're in your personal, your professional life, and things are flowing. There is a beautiful energy to beauty and radiance. And I cannot wait to teach you what I have been teaching other people behind the scenes, but a little bit more like segmented. Okay, here's what you need to know for radiance here. Here's what I'm just putting it all together. It's about 20 lessons. And it's taking you from the basics of grooming to presentation, to speech, to posture, to being in a specific energy that will allow you to have better interactions in your personal and professional life with other people, places, and things. It's actually really, it's deep. It's simple. Like if you're 20, 30, you can get this. And if you're 80, you can get this. But that's the beauty of it, is that the most simple things that we can do are often the deepest. But we have to kind of learn to unlearn and deprogram and sometimes decouple from things that are pulling and negatively impacting our body, mind, spirit, energy practices, so that when we take a sword and we get rid of all the stuff in our life that's no longer serving us, we can step into this beautiful state of beauty and radiance. And if you're a light worker, if you're an intuitive empath, if you're just someone who loves having a good life, looking good, taking names, join me, because this next thing that I'm dropping is pretty cool. So thanks everybody for joining me here on the Rachel Varga podcast. This is a fun episode for me to teach. It's about an hour and two. I really hope you were listening to this not with your AirPods. Ditch those ASAP. They are Bluetooth. I don't care if you have a sticker on your AirPods. It's still emitting Bluetooth signal. What the heck is a sticker doing anyways if it's still working and emitting signals? Okay, that's a whole other story. But go for a wired headset. Pick up the SYB Shield Your Body adapter headpiece so that when you are listening on a headset, it's changing the sound from digital sound waves to acoustic sound waves, which is much better for your ears, for helping to reduce things like acoustic neuromas, because trust me, we're going to be seeing a lot of that, especially with these AirPod situations. So you've been warned. EMFs, in my opinion, is like the smoking of our generation, not to mention toxic seed oils and bad air quality and junk lighting, all the things. So that's why you're hanging out here, so that you can get these updates for free on the Rachel Varga podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment of what you found helpful and exciting to learn from today's lesson. If you have any podcast topic requests, I would love to hear from you. Email me info@rachelvarga.ca. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much, and stay high vibe, radiant, and make good life choices. 80-20. Be perfect like 80% of the time, but 20%, have that fun.